Hello horror fans and welcome back to Top 5 Scary Videos. Yes, I've shaved my head. Yes, it feels incredible. No, I haven't been inducted into a demonic cult. You all know I'm too smart for that stuff. As always, I'll be your host Jack Finch, and I'm glad that you're all back for some terrifying tales from the depths of the internet. Before we begin, why don't you go ahead and hit that subscribe bar floating below so you can stay up to date with our latest and greatest uploads. Today we're diving back into the scary, unexplainable world of Reddit and skimming some of the most horrifying eyewitness accounts available. Sit back, turn off the lights as we take a look at 5 scary Reddit horror stories that turned out to be true. If you enjoy this video, make sure to give it a great big thumbs up and share it with your fellow horror aficionados. Kicking off at number 5, we've got the Lost Military Exercise. A lot of unexplainable stuff seems to happen to those in the military. Whether it's genuinely paranormal or just a mix of fear and adrenaline, we'll never really know, but this story is a little different. From Reddit user I Love Pink Nips. Back when he was back in the army, his squad ran into something pretty unexplainable during a regular navigation exercise. It was a standard drill. They were given a map and some coordinates, and they had to find certain checkpoints along the way using only a compass and a GPS backup in case of emergency. Everything was going swimmingly, but as they were nearing the end of the exercise, a squad had fallen hopelessly behind and were finally making their way to the last checkpoint. Our narrator was in charge of the last checkpoint and knew that the squad was close by in at least a 1 kilometer radius, but they couldn't yet see them due to the dense foliage. Well, he waited there for over 2 hours, still no sign. He radioed them, no response. Half an hour later, they frantically radioed back. They were lost, walking around in circles, seeing the exact same landmarks. They reported that it was pitch black, but our narrator could see that it was still light out. It was barely 6 PM and the sun was only starting to set. Well, they emergency buzzed their coordinates and they headed to their exact location, but there was no one there, nothing. The forest was eerily quiet, no birds, no insects, just dead silence. It turned out that the squadron didn't actually emerge until several hours later. They reported that they felt like they were being followed the whole time. They kept leaving knife marks on nearby trees to guide their way, but every time they came back, the mark had disappeared. Spooky, eh? Coming in at number 4, Nick at Night. We all remember Nick at Night, right? Late night cartoons that were pure amazing. While Reddit user Saint Sparkles had some pretty awesome parents who let them sleep in the living room on weekend nights, chill out on the couch and watch Nick at Night until they fell asleep. So one night during this most joyous of weekend treats, Saint Sparkles woke up on the sofa with a strange prickly feeling. It was like an instinct, something tugging at their sleeve saying, "Wake up, something's not quite right." Well, they bolted upright in a sitting position and their eyes quickly fixed on the front window. You see, our narrator lived in rural Georgia and there was a hell of a lot of trees surrounding their property. In the perfect light cast from the moon, they could see a strange silhouette, or a person, perhaps a creature, something standing in the tree outside their home. Their dog seemed to sense it too and quickly dashed to the window, snarling at the glass. Long story short, their parents heard the commotion. Dad flipped out and grabbed a gun, headed out into the forest screaming, "Get off my property." He found no one though, and Saint Sparkles quickly went back to their bedroom to sleep. Just as they were dozing off though, their gaze cast out of their bedroom window. The figure, it's there again, this time standing in a tree closer to the house. Whatever it was, he put a finger over his mouth and shushed, and then just like that, turned away and ran. Yikes. Next up at number 3, Odd House. This one is equal parts charming and insanely unnerving, so let me know what you think in the comments down below. Reddit user Memory Eater painted a beautiful picture of their childhood home in a time gone Ask Reddit thread from 4 years ago. As a child, they lived in a bizarre little house. It was incredibly tall and thin, full of quirks like 2 fully functioning fireplaces, a weird shower in the basement, and an old-timey rope-pulled dumbwaiter that led from the kitchen to their bedroom. The fact that it was incredibly old also meant that it was falling apart and in short was a complete money sink, so their parents sold the house and they had to move. As Memory Eater was cleaning out their closet, they stumbled across something that they'd never noticed before. A strange attic entrance to their walk-in wardrobe. Of course, being an adventurous kid, they opened it up and headed up a strange set of steps. The first thing that they noticed was that it wasn't as dark as it should have been. The place was strung with weird red Christmas lights that seemed to have been recently lit. There was also a bed the place seemed lived in, an old gurney piled with sleeping sleeping bags and sheets, and bizarrely a small mint coloured fridge which still worked. The strangest thing though was the bones. A lot of bones, heaped in piles in the corner, small, large, clean and white, scattered throughout the small room. 2 of them had been burnt black, and scrawled on the wall was a dark coloured bone-charred message, the word sorry over and over again. Someone had been sleeping over their head for 8 years, and what the hell, this is insanity. Well, they never found out who or what it was. Swinging in at number 2, something at sea. Yeah, this one is pretty damn weird. True or no, I don't know, but it's creepy as hell. Again, another military story. Told you weird stuff always happens to them. This one comes from Reddit user Engerby. The story reportedly takes place roughly around a year ago while on board the USS New York, operating somewhere remotely in the Atlantic. They were staging a mock military exercise with half the crew posing as pirates and the other seizing possession of their ship. While as their squad was heading out on a small boarding vessel, things got a little bit weird and a thick fog descended on their position. It was only meant to be a short 5-minute ride to their destination, but over 10 minutes had passed at this point and they still hadn't hit. They were lost in the middle of nowhere, as if they'd fallen asleep and ended up miles completely off course. Eventually, after the engine had cut out already once before, they came across a massive old rusted ship, like a cruise liner that had been pulled from the bottom of the ocean. Of course, they boarded it, but inside they found something even stranger. They found reams and reams of books, sketches of some kind in notepads, of creatures that weren't supposed to exist. Massive marine animals, twisted squids, ungodly whales, and a note. These are what I have observed on my 14-month journey. Well, of course, they quickly got the hell out of there, and for fear of sounding insane, they refused to report it to their superior officers. Well, worse things have happened at sea, eh? And finally, at our number 1 spot, my favourite ever Reddit story, sticky notes. Not exactly a horror story, but so much more potentially terrifying. 3 years ago, Reddit user rbradbury1920 posted to the legal advice subreddit about a strange series of events that had recently plagued him. It first began when he found a yellow sticky note in a handwriting that wasn't his own on his desk at home, reminding him to run some personal errands, but hadn't told anybody about. Very odd, but he chalked it up to something that he'd done in his sleeping state, half awake. A few days later, he found another sticky note in the exact same handwriting, telling him to make sure he'd saved his documents. He freaked out this time, but there were no signs of a break-in and no signs of criminal intent. The next time, he found another post-it note saying, "Our landlord isn't letting me talk to you, but it's important we do." What the hell? Well, he was convinced that it was his landlord, playing games with him, breaking into his apartment. He found a letter from when he first moved in, and the handwriting was seemingly identical to his landlord's. The big twist? Well, Reddit user Kakalak pretty much saved this guy's life. In the comments, after a thorough analysis of the situation, he concluded that his apartment was leaking carbon monoxide, and he was correct. Our Reddit user had been suffering from slow carbon monoxide poisoning and was experiencing hallucinations that led to him writing sticky notes to himself. If it would have continued, in all likelihood, he could have ended up dead. So, good job, Kakalak. Well, what do you guys think? Have you stumbled upon some even scarier Reddit horror stories? Let us know in the comment box down below. If you've enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a great big thumbs up and hit that subscribe bell for your daily dose of horror. As always, I've been your host Jack Finch, you've been watching Top 5 Scary Videos, and until next time, you take it easy.